Welcome to Tamrimchi's Paranormal Zone. As you can see, there's a crescent moon up in tonight's, and we are by the oceans here in Kelantan State, and the waves are not very rough and violent. I'm sitting along the beach here, was walking along the beach barefoot, and it was very calming, quite meditative. But tonight, I want to tell you an interesting story that I encountered personally, and it happened in Singapore. When I was in Singapore about 12, 13 years back, a lot of people came to see me. I mean, it was like daily, all day long, non-stop. And I was very honored and humbled that a lot of people came to see me and talk and discuss and ask questions. It was a very busy time, and my schedules were packed, and I got very little sleep because we were working at night, we were working during the day, and I had to give a lot of lectures. It was quite busy. It was a nice time now that I look back on it. One of the people that came to me was a lady who came with her reluctant husband. He was kind of checking me out and watching me and kind of thinking, what am I up to and who am I and all that. And the lady started talking. And I had an assistant with me, and she told me a strange tale that happened to her, that was happening to her at that time. And it's been happening for quite a few years. And she told me that she had gone to a few temples and priests and people, and it continued. And this is what happened. She'd be in her bedroom, and she'd be asleep, and she'd feel someone tugging at her feet and pulling her. And she told her husband, and her husband was just not into ghosts and paranormal and supernatural and non-physical entities. He didn't want to hear it. And she was scared. She couldn't sleep, and she was frightened out of her wits. And when her husband was not around, this tricky being or spirit would actually bang pots and pans in her kitchen. Imagine this woman would be in her bedroom, and then she'd hear the pots and pans being banged on in the kitchen. And she didn't have any kids. Her husband was not at home. She was in the apartment by herself. And she got really, 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 really scared. So, and this went on for a long, long time. And when she was being tugged at, it wasn't so violent that she was being pulled off the bed, but she can feel some hand at her ankle. But her husband wouldn't see this because he'd be deep asleep. And by the time she woke him up, he would look, nothing was there. And he never heard the pots banging. But as time went on, the pulling became more violent, and the entity started to feel her legs, touch it more and feel it and pull her more, so you can see her body jerking. And one day, her husband came. He was coming to sleep, and you know what? He witnessed this. He witnessed his wife laying still in bed with nobody around, and the room is semi-dark, and he saw something invisible pulling his wife, because he can see her whole body jerking, and something apparently was at her leg jerking her, pulling her, so he can see the body movement and her hair movement and all that. And he was in his total shock, disbelief, and denial. Everything was totally blown away of what he believed and not believed, because he saw this happening to his wife. And he was embarrassed. He felt a loss of face. He didn't know who to tell or not to tell, and he just didn't know how to deal with it. So he came along with her to see me. And you can see that he believed his wife now, but he didn't like what was going on. And he didn't like talking about it. And he didn't like other people to know. And he felt embarrassed. At the same time, he felt worried. He felt scared without wanting to, admit it, but at the same time, he wanted it to stop. So I did some divinations, and I told the lady and her husband that this thing that's in their house is a male entity, and it's quite powerful, and it's quite strong, and it's not going to let her go easily because it's been around for quite a long time. So it's kind of attached to her, and it doesn't want to let go, and he's pulling her not to really harm her, but to get her attention. But all the same, because she's scared and she's being disturbed, she's being harmed. So the divination came out that she needs to propitiate the female wrathful Buddha called Singdongma. Literally means the lion-faced Dakini, the lion-faced angel. And Singdongma is very powerful if you do her practice and meditations for dispelling certain types of negative, harmful spirits. Now, Singdongma is a practice of Tibetan Buddhism, but like I said, every religion and every culture and every country and people have their own tradition, have their own culture that are just as valid and just as effective to relieve them of these interferences. So what I'm sharing with you today is not just the only way, but it's one way in which I have shared with people, but you don't need to go and do, of course. So I told the lady that we need to set up a shrine in her home with an image of Singdongma, and to do her praise, which is very short, and to do her mantra. If she does this every day, continuously, then the interference will disperse and go away. But I said it will take some time because she has some karmic connection to this being. She has some affinity. This being has a connection to her. And it won't go away that easy. So therefore, when she starts the Singdongma practice, he will calm down for a while, and then it will increase. The intensity of trying to get her attention and pulling her and all that will increase because the divination said it's going to become more. And the reason for that, I told her, is because you see, when you see the troops coming in, you see the army coming in to get rid of the so-called enemy, you're going to make a last-ditch attempt to win the war, to win the battle. You're going to do everything you can before you scatter into the four winds. And this spirit's going to do that. This male spirit is going to fight to stay, and he's going to intensify his pulling and his noise making and his pranks and his mischief because he doesn't want to leave, and he wants to scare you into letting him stay. He wants to threaten you into letting him stay. I told her. So I said, what you need to do is that you're going to get ready for more intensity, more of him pulling on you and disturbing you and whatever other things he's going to do, but he won't harm you per se, but he will do more. And so when that happens, you shouldn't think that it's not effective. You should think that now he's getting angry and he needs to make a stand. So you need to make a stand by doing your practice, doing your mantras, and keeping firm, and it will be like a crescendo where it's like stops and then it increases, and then after that it will stop. So I warned the lady and I told her husband, and I helped him. I was free that day. We went out to Singapore. We went to Temple Street and we bought some items that she will need, some offering cups and some candles, and we bought some incense, something to set up a shrine, and they were very happy that I went and helped them. And then I came back and I showed them how to set it up. I explained them clearly, and she went home to do her practice. Just as I kind of said to her, she called up my assistant and said that the banging of the pots became louder. It's becoming more. And the tugging and the pulling has become more violent. It's become stronger. It's become more firm and more insistent. And I told her, don't stop. Really don't stop. Continue. You have to realize that, look, this has been around you for years, and it's not going to go away that quick and easy just because you do a magic mantra. I mean, it is a powerful entity, and it has a mind, and it's connected to you, and somehow it's latched itself onto you, and it will take a little bit of time to get rid of him, because some of these beings, you can do a mantra, they'll literally disperse. Some of these beings, you can even show a picture, of a high teacher, a high guru, and they'll disperse. Some of these you can just, do a meditation, they'll disperse. Some of these you can just sprinkle some holy water, they'll disperse. Some you can burn some blessed rice and they smell the smoke, they'll disperse. Some you can just give some food and drinks and they'll be happy and they'll, kind of leave you alone or just stay in their own space. But everyone is different and every entity is quite different. So therefore, I told her, this one is quite powerful and he's very strong and he's attached and he's not afraid of any of you. And he's got some courage because you've done many methods and he's kind of confident that you can't get rid of him. So he's got kind of a confidence and arrogance. And so what happened was she went back to doing the practice and the noises intensified and the pulling intensified. And I told her, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And she came back about a week later. She returned back some incense and candles and things. And she says that she's not going to continue because he's just banging and the pot's louder and pulling on her and she can't take it. And I encouraged her, don't stop, continue, don't stop, continue. And I explained why again, but she was too scared and she left. So I never saw her after that. I never heard of her after that. And I don't know what happened. But that was one of the cases I came across that there was no positive conclusion because I came across many cases. But that was one particular case that I still remember to this day with a lot of worry and concern because it didn't come to a positive, beneficial conclusion for everybody around. But it did happen. I spoke to this woman and her husband, and he, being very reluctant, confirmed what was going on. And so, we need to recognize and realize that there are all types of entities in this world. Some have names and labels and have been seen and understood. Some people don't know who they are or what they are. But there are many entities. There are many types of beings. There are many types of supernatural beings. Beings without a body, beings without form. They're all around us. They're everywhere. And they're more powerful in places where people have suffered, or there's a lot of death, or there's a lot of sadness. Sometimes even a lot of happiness because people die and they get attached to happiness, the so-called happiness, and they stay there. So what we need to do is realize that they are trapped in their realm, they are trapped in their world, and some of them just want to communicate with us, some of them wants to talk, some of them wants to get help, some of them wants to get some sympathy, some of them wants just to be told that they are dead. Some of them just wants to be told forthright because they don't even know that they are dead and they need to move on. So if we counter anything like that, you don't need to be scared immediately. You don't need to freak out because not all these entities are meant to harm. It's just like when we meet people, we don't need to be afraid of everybody we meet because not everybody is out there to harm us. So when you come across these kind of entities and these kind of beings, what you need to do is remain calm, generate a heart of sympathy for them. Because you know what? You may be scared, but maybe they're scared too. You may be, freaked out, but they might be just as freaked out as you because they're in a worse situation. So you need to kind of generate compassion and care for them and let them know that you don't mean them harm. You don't wish to disturb them, and please don't disturb you. And you can, according to your own faith and according to your own background, you can do whatever you can. But in our faith, you can recite the mantra of compassion or wisdom or protection and generate love and generate concern and send a light of love blessed by the mantra towards these beings and wish them to be liberated. So tonight's paranormal is about the banging pots. I hope you can hear the ocean waves, and it's quite desolate here and quite dark here. And as we look at the crescent moon up in the sky, that's bright and clear, I wish everybody good night and thank you.